about Carson, and I mean, good Lord. I know the last 3 days now, we've talked about beating a dead horse. There was Urban Meyer on Tuesday. Yesterday it was I forgot what we were talking about yesterday, but it was one of those beating a dead horse. And today we're doing it again. As a Colts fan, I understand that there's a lot coming out about Carson Wentz, for better or for worse, or for scapegoat or for not, that Carson Wentz was a bad leader, so on and so on. So Jim Irsay doubled down. Via the Indy Star, Jim Irsay said, for us, it was something we had to move away from as a franchise. It was very obvious. He also adds that, no disrespect to Jacksonville, but I mean, they're the worst team in the league. You play well and hard for the first quarter, which I do not believe, by the way, and they're looking to go to their locker room and clean it out. I've never seen anything like that in my life. And also, he talked about talking to veterans, and the veterans, he got some things from them that apparently he wasn't a great leader. Carson's on the Commanders now. Jim Irsay also was very clear that he was very proud of Chris Ballard for getting something back for Carson instead of just having to release him. I didn't even know that was a possibility, but apparently not many people wanted him. Aaron, I know that leadership matters, but I'm getting tired of it being overplayed in the media. As a person who understands that Carson Wentz was not fantastic, his game situations ability was not great sometimes. This team did not show up against Jacksonville. I don't want to go as far as saying Carson's a scapegoat, but Aaron, the owner doing this is completely Bush League to me. I'm sorry.
Yes, I do agree with you, because it seemed like, I understand if this question was proposed to them, but it just seems like, why can't you move on? This should be more about the acquisition of Matt Ryan and acquiring a bona fide starting quarterback that you believe is what you didn't have in Carson Wentz. Now, like I said, you have to figure out, all the compensation packages and what you really basically gave up Carson Wentz to acquire Matt Ryan. But at this point, I 100% agree. Like, it clearly looks like there's a leadership problem in the locker room. And I'm also on the wagon of, does your quarterback does being a quarterback automatically make you have to be a leader? Like, I don't know if that used to be the case, or if it's because it's such a position of importance and such a position that gets paid ridiculously well. Yeah, handsomely, that you just that's part of the job description, because it's okay if your leader's Darius Leonard and if your leader is Jonathan Taylor. Like, it's okay if leaders on your team aren't your quarterback, but it just seems like to have to apologize and say these things. Like, there's 52 other guys on the field as well. Now, look, Carson Wentz, like I said, you can look at the stats on face value and they're really good, and you're like, how is this guy out? But I can understand if there's other aspects of the game that didn't, sit well with Chris Ballard and Frank Reich and Jim Irsay. But, just let it go. Just move on. You're done. He's gone. We haven't talked about it. What was this? This was 3 weeks ago? 2-3 weeks ago that Carson Wentz was traded to the Commanders. And, it's just scapegoat, whatever. Yeah, you failed by starting out slow, by blowing the game against the Raiders, by blowing the game against the Jaguars. It was ugly. But does anyone really care anymore? No, it's time to move on. You've got your quarterback of the, immediate future in Matt Ryan, and it's time to work on everything to make him better. If I were them, I would just say, look, Carson's gone, Matt's here. This is what we're going to talk about. The decision has been made, and we are going to play football next year with Matt Ryan as our quarterback.
And Jim Irsay can control the narrative. We've seen, there are obviously hidden things that we don't see where guys are given an agenda on what they can talk about. So Jim Irsay being so blatantly honest about this is like, oh, so it's okay to talk about it now. When Darius Leonard gets on Twitter and lashes out, we've talked about it a couple of times in brief, that I've been concerned with what Darius Leonard's been tweeting. Oh well, thanks for letting go Carson is pretty much what he said. And it's like I'm not with that. Like, is he a leader? Why can't the team get over this? And it starts with the owner. It starts with the owner. You can hush these guys up by telling them, if you're going to do this, we're going to internally fine you or discipline you.
Right.
Just shut up. Don't talk about it.
Well, and Jim Irsay, like, here's a quote that I actually thought was a huge slap in the face to Carson Wentz. I think it was really quite remarkable and a great tribute to Chris to generate trade interest and get the deal done with Washington. Like, you act like no one wants Carson Wentz.
Former number 2 pick, possible MVP, 1-year Super Bowl champion.
27 touchdowns, 7 picks. Like, it's just, I don't understand. It was just 1 year. I mean, I don't know. And the thing is are you, and you know what, this is my opinion. I know you're probably going to have a difference of opinion, but
right.
Are you really like, Matt Ryan really hasn't proven much either. And since 2017,
they both
18,
have 1 year. You're right.
Yeah, since 2017-18, it's not gone very well either. So, what are you going to do next? You going to just keep blaming quarterbacks out of town? Like, what are you going to do next if it doesn't work? I mean, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender right now.
I do.
I think Matt. I would hope you do.
Well, I mean, I'm an honest fan. That is not even a joke. Like, I'm an honest fan with my teams. The Miami Heat, I'm more confident in than the Colts, obviously, right now, despite the competition. But I still think the Colts can contend with people in the AFC if they control the ball. But obviously, any team can say that. What makes me frustrated is we have not addressed the wide receiver situation for a couple of years now.
Right.
We have relied on our offensive line. That's one of our guys finally left. We've relied on Jonathan Taylor. At what point do you have more options than Jonathan Taylor? At what point do you have more options? Is just hopefully, Phillip Rivers is a cut. Well, that's great. All these you can't just not fix things around the team. And Colts, at one point you're like, oh, well, they built up an offensive line. At the point we're like, you don't have any wide receivers that can do anything. Like, Chris Ballard still wants T.Y. Hilton, and I asked him why. Like, what are we doing? What has T.Y. done the last 5 years? Nothing.
Fair.
Oh, well. I don't want to beat the dead horse anymore, but
they seem to keep trying to do that, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Agreed. Like I said, embrace Matt Ryan. Tell the media and tell your guys, hey, if the media asks you this question, say, we're focused on how good of a leader Matt Ryan is. Don't even mention anything about Carson Wentz.
I can dig it.